sister-in-law hijacked my pregnancy announcement for her own amusement. Now my family wants a do-over, but I'm refusing. I'm a 36-year-old woman, and I just found out I'm pregnant. I can't even describe how overjoyed I am. Having a child has always been a dream of mine, but I've focused on my career, and since I'm single, I wasn't sure if I'd ever get this chance. The moment I saw that positive test, I immediately started picturing what it would be like to share this incredible news with my family. My family is small but close. My older sister has a son, my 7-year-old nephew, and my brother is married, but he and his wife have always said they'd never have kids. With such a unique family dynamic, I wanted my pregnancy announcement to be unforgettable, especially since this will be my only child. I decided to make my nephew part of the surprise. I got him a shirt that said, "This is what an awesome big cousin looks like." I took him aside before dinner, creating a special memory just for the two of us, and told him he was going to be a cousin. He was so excited. He slipped the shirt on and pulled his sweater over it. I told him he could take it off whenever he was ready. Halfway through dinner, my nephew dramatically took off his sweater, proudly displaying the shirt. For a second there was silence, and then my sister saw it and jumped up, shrieking with joy. But, almost immediately, everyone's eyes turned to my sister-in-law. Of course, she is married, so I wasn't shocked that my family assumed she was pregnant. What I didn't expect was my sister-in-law's reaction. She started laughing, playfully rubbing her perfectly flat belly, just going along with the story. I sat there, completely stunned and suddenly invisible in my own moment. I must have looked gutted, because my mom turned to me and scolded me for being rude, telling me to congratulate my brother and sister-in-law. I finally found my voice and tried to explain that I was the one who gave my nephew the shirt and that I was the one pregnant, but nobody listened. They kept fawning over my sister-in-law, and my brother just stood there repeatedly asking her if she was serious. At that point, I couldn't take any more. I got up from the table and left, feeling humiliated and heartbroken. The messages started coming in almost immediately. I was accused of being jealous, of making the night about myself, of being unfair to my sister-in-law. I didn't respond, I just cried myself to sleep. This morning, everything shifted. I guess my sister-in-law finally told them she wasn't pregnant. Now, suddenly, my phone is full of apologies. They said they just got caught up in the moment and that it was my fault for not making it clear I was the pregnant one. My mom actually suggested we could have another dinner, a redo, where I announced my pregnancy and they would all pretend to be surprised. Then I got a message from my sister-in-law. She confessed that the way I chose to announce the pregnancy was exactly what she'd have done if she were ever going to have a child. She admitted she just wanted to know what it felt like to have that moment. She said I could have my chance at the redo. But I said no, there's no going back or recreating that moment, not for their comfort or to make things right. Every single person in my family is now calling me selfish because I won't let them fix it, but to me, there just isn't any fixing this. I'll forgive them, eventually. I know I will. But my pregnancy isn't a performance, and I'm not doing a second, fake announcement just to make them feel better. Update 1. It's been 4 months since everything came crashing down, and honestly, the whirlwind hasn't stopped spinning. I'm now almost 7 months pregnant, and soon I'll meet my baby girl. In the aftermath of that disastrous family dinner, I tried to put some distance between myself and my family. Their drama wasn't welcome in my life, not when I needed to put my energy into growing this little human inside me. But my plans for peace didn't last long. Just a few days after that dinner, my brother showed up at my doorstep with nothing but his suitcase and a shattered look in his eyes. He needed space to think, and I was more than willing to let him crash with me for as long as it took. Within hours, his wife and other family members started bombarding both our phones, calling and texting relentlessly. They pleaded with him to talk it out with his wife, to just listen. Eventually, his wife managed to rope him back in, convincing him the whole fiasco was just a poorly executed joke, a joke that snowballed into disaster. I could see straight through the lies, but my brother was already slipping away, desperate for the comfort of what he used to know. He was so lost and defeated without her, and within days, he packed up again and left to return home. Before he left, we sat down and had it out. I laid out everything I'd seen, told him all my worries, held nothing back. He insisted he loved her, chalked everything up to a simple misunderstanding, and accused me of being cruel for holding a grudge over a joke gone wrong. He told me to let it go, to get over it. As much as it hurt to watch him walk away, I knew I couldn't force him to see the truth. After he left, I drifted back into low contact with most of my family, and honestly, I've been happier since. Stepping back and reflecting, I realized just how toxic so many of them are. There's no sense in investing myself in people who thrive on drama when I could be surrounding myself with those who truly care for me and my unborn daughter. My parents still try to reach out, but their efforts are fading with time. Then, yesterday, the news hit, just as so many people had predicted. My sister-in-law is pregnant now too. I found out via email, through an invitation to her upcoming gender reveal Zoom party. I haven't replied, and I haven't heard a single word from any family member besides that invitation. I honestly don't know whether to laugh until I cry or just cry for my brother. Right now, I'm just stuck somewhere in between, completely unsure what to feel or what comes next. Update 2. My brother and sister-in-law's gender reveal Zoom party took place today. For weeks beforehand, I was torn about whether I should attend or not. I'd been doing pretty well with keeping no contact with most of my family, but I just couldn't shake this lingering guilt, the feeling that I was being selfish, not supporting my brother at such a big moment in his life. In the end, curiosity and loneliness won out. It's hard being pregnant, isolated in lockdown, without much support, so I reached out online, wanting to reconnect at least a little, if only to see how they were doing. It was clear enough when we chatted that my brother and his wife were definitely expecting. They'd started trying for a baby right after my brother returned home from staying with me. My sister-in-law told me that, apparently, my brother had changed his mind about having kids after a long talk they had about their future together. Personally, I suspect there's more to that story, but for now, it's not my business, I just don't know the details. During that conversation, they apologized for what happened with my pregnancy announcement. My brother asked if we could move on from everything and if I would attend their gender reveal. I agreed and decided to let the past go, at least for this occasion. I even started talking to my parents again. They, however, made no apology for their part in the disaster that was my pregnancy announcement. In fact, they didn't acknowledge at all that anything had happened between us. They didn't show much interest in my pregnancy or my baby either, only asking 2 questions: what my child's last name will be, since I'm a single mother, and what the gender is. I told them I'm not sharing the gender until the baby's born. Fast forward to the gender reveal party today. The instructions were to wear blue or pink depending on what gender we thought the baby would be. The only dress I own that fits me right now is pink, so that's what I wore. As everyone began logging onto the Zoom call, everything seemed to be going smoothly. My parents were dressed head to toe in blue, saying they did it because they were excited that my brother is finally carrying on the family name. Meanwhile, my brother and his wife were set up in their living room, both in all pink, beaming, ready to celebrate. My sister-in-law had chosen to pop a large balloon filled with confetti for the big reveal. She popped it and out burst a cloud of blue confetti. My parents actually started crying and cheering when they realized they were getting a grandson. My brother and the rest of the family smiled, clapping and congratulating them. My sister-in-law, however, stayed silent. She looked completely emotionless, disconnected from the celebration all around her. These awkward few moments stuttered on as everyone chimed in with well wishes and congratulations, everyone but her. It felt so odd, like time was suspended in the silence. Wanting to be supportive, I broke in and said, "Congratulations on your little boy. His cousin can't wait to meet him." That was the spark that detonated everything. Out of nowhere, my sister-in-law completely lost it. She started screaming at me, accusing me of trying to steal her spotlight just by mentioning my baby. She shrieked that I was being jealous and petty, dragging up drama from before because of my birth announcement disaster. Then, as she really lost control, she demanded to know what I was having, pressing again and again, "What are you effing having anyway?" She fixated on my dress, insisting I must be having a girl because I was wearing pink. Throughout the meltdown, my parents and other family members did little to step in or calm her down. They just sat there, witnesses to the chaos. I knew there was no reasoning with her. I let her rant, and then I simply exited the call. I still don't understand what her problem is, or why she's acting like this. But frankly, I just don't care anymore. I'm finished letting things like this get to me. Breaking no contact was a mistake. Update 3. I need to get this off my chest because honestly, if I don't, I might just scream. I wish I could say things have calmed down lately, but my sister-in-law's drama just keeps cranking up to a new level. About 2 weeks ago, she found out I'm expecting a girl. The worst part? She discovered the gender by logging into my Amazon account without my permission, snooping through my private lists. I'd only given my brother my account info so he could watch a show he'd wanted to see, not so anyone could poke around my main account and check out my wish lists and past orders. The fact that she did this devastated me, it cut so deep. Once again, she'd snatched a special moment away from me by running straight to the rest of my family and announcing the gender before I even had a chance to share the news myself. And she acts so proud of herself for it, too. She thinks what she did was hilarious, justifying it by saying I was keeping secrets. According to her, it's all just a funny little story, and if anything goes wrong, she blames it on pregnancy brain. But finally, I snapped. I told her there's nothing funny about what she did. It was appalling, it was troubling, and I couldn't believe she felt no shame for ruining so many big moments in my pregnancy. I told her she should honestly be embarrassed, because I sure am, embarrassed for her. I laid it all out. At this point, my daughter won't be calling her aunt. She doesn't deserve it. That set her off. She melted down and accused me, again, of trying to make her miscarry, which is something she likes to say whenever anyone calls her out. My brother and a few other family members tried stepping in to defend her, but I made it abundantly clear, if they want to take her side, I'll happily remove them from my life, too. That shut them up quickly, and now, at least on the surface, they all agree with me. My sister-in-law eventually managed to offer some half-hearted apology, saying we need to make up for the sake of the kids. I do want to be part of my new baby nephew's life, so, truthfully, I feel stuck in this situation. I agreed to try to move on, but made sure they all know, they're on very, very thin ice. Now that everyone knows I'm having a girl, I've flat out refused to share the name I've chosen. That's one thing I want left for me alone, something I can announce when my daughter arrives. I'm so suspicious at this point I haven't even written the name down, worried someone might find it. My sister-in-law keeps pushing, asking me, pestering me, telling me she needs to know the names I'm considering. Every time, I just shrug her off and say I haven't decided yet. This past week, she started sending me girls' names she's dibsing. Never mind that she's having a boy, she just can't accept it, claiming no one can truly know the gender until the babies are born. Mostly, her names aren't even close to my style, thank God. She sends me 4 or 5 names a day, and I ignore her. But yesterday, she sent me the name I'm going to use for my daughter. It's my late great-grandmother's name, and I've wanted to use it since I was a teenager. There is no way I'm changing my mind, and I'll announce her name when she arrives, come hell or high water. This is my hill to die on. I'm not looking to start a war, but I know as soon as I say her name, it's going to blow up. Still, I won't let anyone take this from me. Update 4. My little girl is finally here, and she's doing so well. I can't believe how beautiful she is. She's even more amazing than I ever imagined. Sure, she's already a handful, but every second with her is nothing but pure joy for me. I refuse to let my sister-in-law bully me into changing the name I'd chosen for my daughter. I named her after my great-grandmother, and as soon as I saw her, I knew it was perfect. While I was still in the hospital, I sent out a message to my family announcing her birth, and, of course, her name. My sister-in-law was furious when she heard it, and she got even angrier when I told everyone the nickname I'd picked out, which was just a sweet shortened version of my daughter's name. But apparently, that nickname was also on my sister-in-law's infamous dibs list. She took it a step further and posted on social media, announcing my daughter's birth but using a completely different nickname in her post. She insisted it was her own special nickname for my daughter, something outlandish and totally unrelated to her real name, like calling a baby named Grace Gilly. It made no sense at all, and I could tell it was just meant to get under my skin. I immediately told her to stop and to call my baby by either her given name or the nickname I'd chosen. I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of seeing me rattled, so I addressed it firmly but without losing my cool. She stopped for a little while, but never deleted her bizarre social media post. A week after bringing my daughter home, I invited my family over to meet her. That's when my sister-in-law decided to ramp things up again. She showed up with a stuffed bear that had Gilly embroidered across it, doubling down on her bizarre nickname. When I unwrapped the bear, my family actually laughed and started telling me I was being too controlling. They said I should get over it, that Gilly was cute, and they all started using the nickname too. It was as if I didn't even have the right to name my own child. That moment hit me hard. None of them were ever going to change. What hurt most wasn't just what they were doing, but that I kept letting it happen. The ones who stood by and did nothing were just as bad. I'd overlooked so much from my family in the past, always convincing myself to forgive and forget for the sake of family. But now they were doing it again, and this time, right in front of my daughter. I started to think about what would happen when she's older. Would they treat her the way they've always treated me? That was my breaking point. I grabbed the bear and threw it in the garbage right in front of them. I told everyone to leave my house. In my eyes, they were all as bad as my sister-in-law. I didn't yell or scream, I just stood my ground, took my daughter from my mother's arms, and showed them all the door. There was a lot of name-calling on their part, but I stood firm. I'm done. I haven't spoken to any of them since, and none of them have tried to reach out to me. I know I need closure, so I'm planning to write them a letter just to get everything off my chest. But I've decided, I'm going no contact from here on out. Recently, I talked to my boss about an opportunity to transfer to a new branch out east, and I'm planning to accept it and move during my maternity leave. Nothing is set in stone quite yet, but I truly believe that a fresh start could be exactly what my daughter and I need. Family or not, I have to do what's right for me and my little girl. And right now, despite all of this, I am genuinely, deeply happy. My daughter is the greatest little baby I could have ever asked for, and I am absolutely overjoyed to be her mom. Update 5. Recently, I found myself once again in a situation I never thought I'd return to, searching for advice as my world was turned upside down. My brother managed to reach me by calling from a different number. His voice was frantic, desperate in a way I'd never heard before. He told me my sister-in-law had endured severe complications and had to deliver their baby earlier than anyone expected. My nephew, so tiny and fragile, is now fighting for his life in the NICU. It breaks my heart to see such a small life caught up in chaos before he's even had a chance to take his first real breath. His early arrival has brought health challenges, he's a preemie, and there are other concerns the doctors are still figuring out. But as if that wasn't enough, my brother's world was shattered in another way. My sister-in-law, the minute she was released from the hospital, simply didn't come home. She left, just like that, leaving my brother standing in the ruins of his hopes for their new family. He told me she admitted she didn't want this for herself or for her son. It was too much, she couldn't do it. Since then, not a word from her. She just disappeared. My brother is calling me constantly now, his voice raw and pleading. He's begging me for help, sounding more lost than I've ever heard him. The rest of my family has conveniently labeled themselves as supportive, but when it comes down to actually doing something, there's nothing real or tangible being offered. They all seem to think it's the perfect solution for me to take my nephew. After all, I'm already on maternity leave, so why not just add another baby into the mix? It feels like everyone else is stepping back and leaving me to carry the weight, assuming I'm the obvious choice, but no one is thinking about what that really means for me, for my own child, or even for my nephew. And now I'm left here, holding my brother's world together while mine teeters on the edge, and all I keep thinking is, how did it end up like this? Update 6. I wish I could say I made the right choice, but honestly, I'm not even sure what the right choice would have been anymore. After 3 sleepless nights of my brother calling me in tears, begging me to help with my nephew, I finally caved. Not completely, I told him I'd help temporarily while he figured things out, but I made it clear this wasn't permanent. What I didn't expect was walking into the hospital and seeing my sister-in-law there. She was back, sitting in the NICU next to my nephew's incubator like nothing had happened. When she saw me, she actually had the nerve to smile and wave like we were old friends meeting for coffee. My brother looked sheepish when he explained. Apparently, she'd called him the night before, saying she'd made a mistake and wanted to work things out. She claimed she'd been overwhelmed and just needed some space to process everything. He was so relieved to have her back that he didn't even question where she'd been for those 4 days. But I noticed things. Her hair was different, freshly styled and highlighted. Her nails were done. She had new clothes, expensive ones. When I asked her how she was feeling, she said she'd been staying with a friend to clear her head. Something about the way she said it made my skin crawl. Then, while we were all focused on my nephew, she started asking me questions about my daughter. Not the normal aunt questions, weird, specific things. How much she weighed at birth, what her sleep schedule was like, whether she was formula or breastfed. When I asked why she wanted to know, she got defensive and said she was just trying to be supportive. The breaking point came 2 days later. I was at home when my brother called, sobbing. He'd found texts on my sister-in-law's phone, messages with someone named Jake talking about how she couldn't wait to be free and how this whole baby thing was just a phase she needed to get through. There were photos too, ones that made it clear where she'd really been during those 4 days she disappeared. But here's the part that made me sick to my stomach. In one of the messages, she told this Jake guy that if things got too complicated with the baby, she had the perfect solution. She'd convinced her brother-in-law that she could take care of both babies since I was clearly overwhelmed as a single mom anyway. My brother confronted her, and she didn't even try to deny it. She told him she never wanted to be a mother, that she'd only gotten pregnant to keep him from leaving her after my announcement disaster. She said she'd been planning to leave anyway, but then realized she could have her cake and eat it too. Let me raise both kids while she started fresh with Jake. The worst part? She actually tried to make it sound like she was doing me a favor. Said I was obviously desperate for family since I'd been so upset about being excluded, and that taking my nephew would give me the family I'd always wanted. I told my brother everything, about the Amazon account, the name stealing, all of it. Things I'd held back before because I thought it would hurt him too much. He just sat there, staring at me like he was seeing clearly for the first time in years. My sister-in-law is gone for good now. She signed away her parental rights yesterday and left town with Jake. My brother is devastated but also relieved, if that makes sense. He's been staying with me while we figure out what comes next. My nephew is doing better, he's gained weight and his breathing has improved. The doctors are cautiously optimistic. But my brother is struggling with single parenthood while still processing everything that's happened. As for me, I'm conflicted. Part of me wants to help him because that's what family does. But another part of me remembers how they all treated me, how they chose her side every single time. I love my nephew, and I want him to be okay, but I also have to protect my daughter and myself. I've made a decision about the transfer. I'm taking it. I told my brother he can come with me if he wants, fresh start for all of us, but I'm done being the family dumping ground. Whether he comes or not, my daughter and I are moving forward. Sometimes I wonder if my sister-in-law planned this whole thing from the beginning. The pregnancy announcement hijacking, the name games, all of it. Maybe she really was just that calculated. Or maybe I'm giving her too much credit and she's just that selfish. Either way, I'm done trying to figure her out. I have my own family to think about now. Update 7. I thought moving across the country would give us the peace we desperately needed, but apparently, drama has a way of following you no matter how far you run. My daughter and I have been in our new city for 2 months now, and my brother decided to join us after all. He brought my nephew, who's thriving now, hitting all his milestones and turning into the happiest little guy despite everything he's been through. Things were actually going well for a while. My brother found a job, we got into a good routine with the kids, and for the first time in over a year, I felt like I could breathe. Then last week, I got a call that turned everything upside down again. It was from a woman named Sarah who introduced herself as Jake's wife. Yes, that Jake, the one my sister-in-law ran off with. Apparently, my sister-in-law had been telling people she was a widow, that her husband died in a car accident and left her with a baby she couldn't handle. She'd been using my nephew's photos, claiming he was her son that she'd given up for adoption to family because she was too grief-stricken to care for him. But here's where it gets really twisted. She'd also been using photos of my daughter. She'd somehow gotten them from my old social media before I went private and was telling people my daughter was also her child, twins that she'd had to split up between family members because of her trauma. Sarah only found out the truth when she got suspicious and did some digging. She found my brother's Facebook through mutual connections and saw recent photos of my nephew that clearly showed he was thriving and healthy, not the sickly abandoned baby my sister-in-law had described. When Sarah confronted Jake with the evidence, he apparently had no idea about any of this. He thought he was dating a young widow who'd lost everything. The whole thing fell apart when Sarah showed up at their apartment with printed Facebook photos. My sister-in-law tried to double down, claiming my brother and I had stolen her children, but Jake wasn't buying it anymore. According to Sarah, he kicked my sister-in-law out that same night. Now here's the part that really scared me. Sarah said my sister-in-law had been obsessing over the photos of my daughter. She'd apparently spent hours talking about how she should have been the one to raise her and how she knew what was best for both kids. She'd even bought baby clothes in my daughter's size, claiming she was preparing for when she could get her back. Sarah felt she had to warn me, especially after finding a notebook in my sister-in-law's things filled with information about me, my new job, the city I'd moved to, even the name of my daughter's pediatrician. She'd been planning something, though Sarah wasn't sure what. I immediately called my brother, and he went white when I told him. We contacted the police, but since she hasn't actually done anything yet, there's not much they can do except file a report. They suggested I document everything and be extra cautious about my daughter's safety. The worst part came yesterday. I was at the grocery store with my daughter when a woman approached me near the baby formula aisle. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her until she started talking. It was my sister-in-law's mother, someone I'd only met a handful of times at family gatherings. She told me she'd driven all the way here because her daughter was going through a hard time and needed support. She said my sister-in-law had told her I was keeping her grandchildren from her and that she just wanted to work things out. When I explained what had actually happened, she looked genuinely shocked. Apparently, my sister-in-law had fed her the same sob story about being a widow. But then she said something that made my blood run cold. She's been asking me for money to hire a lawyer. She said she was going to get those babies back where they belong. I left the store immediately and called my brother. We're meeting with a family lawyer tomorrow to discuss our options. My brother is going to file for a restraining order, and I'm looking into what I need to do to protect my daughter legally. The moving truck is coming next week. I never thought I'd have to uproot our lives again so soon, but I won't take any chances with my daughter's safety. My brother is coming with us this time without question. We're sticking together. I just keep thinking about how calculated all of this has been from the very beginning. The pregnancy announcement hijacking, the name stealing, the Amazon snooping. Maybe it really was all part of some twisted plan. And now she's out there somewhere, possibly planning who knows what. I used to think the worst thing she could do was ruin special moments. Now I'm realizing those might have just been practice runs for something much worse.